Welcome to Berkeley for those of you who have come in from far away. I know there's a lot who came in yesterday or even this morning. Welcome to the annual meeting, 2018 annual meeting of BITS, the Berkeley Initiative for Transparency in the Social Sciences. Just kind of a accounting, bookkeeping thing. Look up here for the code of conduct for the meeting. Hopefully, we all, none of it will be a surprise to y'all. Slides are posted on the OSF site there, and if you do want to tweet out anything today, you have information there. Okay, so welcome to the meeting. I'm Ted Miguel, the Executive Director of BITS and a Professor of Economics here at Berkeley. It's just a total pleasure to have folks here. It's such an exciting agenda that we have this year. What I want to do in the next few minutes is give you a little bit of a sense of what BITS has been up to over the last year, some of our main activities. You're going to be hearing about a bunch of them during the day in some of our keynote talks and in some of the sessions as well, but just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a recap and then give you a sense of the day and also introduce our first keynote speaker. So just a little bit of background. I think a lot of us are here and we're interested in research transparency because of the recognition that our research communities really haven't lived up to the ideals of open science that we believe in, that there's a credibility crisis, a replication crisis. Different fields are using different terms. The goal of BITS from when it started in 2012 was to get scholars together across disciplines who have common interests and goals of making our research communities more transparent, more open, more reproducible. That's really our goal. And it's been a really exciting 6 years. We've, in this room right now, we have folks from probably like 10 different academic disciplines. But really what we have in common in terms of our interests sort of outweigh any disciplinary differences. What BITS has done over the last 6 years is try to build a community of scholars across disciplines and around the world to generate evidence on the problems facing our communities and also on the solutions, to build capacity through different training courses and training materials, really to train the next generation and to retrain ourselves in many cases about how to do open science, and then to institutionalize transparency, to institutionalize practices that can make our research communities more open, transparent, and reproducible. So these are the three main thrusts. And I just want to say a few words about some of the activities we've been engaged in over the last year that really touch on these activities and these themes before getting into some details. So in terms of generating evidence, it's actually been a really exciting year. A lot of research projects that have been funded by BITS in the replication space, the meta-analysis space, have been published this year. So I've listed a couple of the publications that came out. I've also mentioned a new study that Betsy Levy-Palak will be presenting right after I introduce her in a few minutes. We've also rebranded the BITS preprint archive to be called Meta Archive with a new logo. I kind of like it. I didn't make it, but it looks awesome. And we have a few dozen preprints or working papers in the series. So the Meta Archive has become a go-to place for people working in this area to post working papers. And certainly if you are, like many in this room, working on related topics, in addition to posting working papers on your website or wherever else you'd post them, please post a preprint on Meta Archive as well. So these are just, again, some citations of papers that have come out, including in high-profile journals from BITS-funded research in the last year. A main activity of BITS, really from the start, has been building capacity. We had 2 large multi-day training courses, one in the US, one in Europe. This year, about 60-something participants were directly trained in those training courses. Looking around the room, I know many people in this room have actually either taught in or participated in as a student in these training courses. You can see that there's a lot of applicants to these training courses. There's a ton of demand and a ton of interest in getting this kind of training. Our next training course will be next summer. This has really been a core activity of BITS and a way that we bring the community together. And I just want to thank those of you in the room who have participated in these training courses, teaching, et cetera, over the last year. But given the demand that's out there, these training courses a few times a year really don't meet all the demand and all the need that's out there. And one of the really exciting things about the last year or two with BITS is how we've expanded our impact by training and funding people called BITS catalysts. So there's a number of catalysts in the room. Again, I see a few of you. BITS catalysts are folks that BITS provides funding to for their own training courses in their home institution, their own seminars, their own regular coursework. If they want to bring some new material in and need some funding to incorporate new material. So it's been an exciting last couple of years. There's now over 120 catalysts in the BITS network across 90 institutions in 30 countries. So you can see the map of where training courses have taken place in Asia, Africa, Latin America, all over Europe, North America. So there's so much interest in these topics, and so many scholars really want to incorporate them into their research. We actually did a little bit of accounting a few weeks ago where we counted up participants in the Catalyst courses, our direct training courses, and then also scholars who have participated in the BITS online course, our MOOC, the massive open online course that we launched a couple years ago. And when we count up all the thousands of people in the MOOC and the thousands of people in these courses, 22,000 people have participated between 2014 and 2018 in a BITS funded course. So we were pretty excited about that. That the numbers, I didn't even know there were 22,000 researchers. So that's amazing. And I'm just kidding. So that was, so 22,000 is a lot of folks around the world. We really feel like the movement is coming together, taking off. There's so much interest in these practices. So it's exciting to be here today with a lot of leaders in this space, actually, to talk about the next set of challenges and the next steps. Just to give you a sense from my own field about how things are changing and things are taking off, what we have here is a figure of projects that are posted on the American Economic Association registration site, study registration site. So this site's only 4 or 5 years old. I think it was 2013 that it came into existence. And what you can see is the cumulative number of study registrations and then the new registrations per month. So the cumulative is just taking off. Even the new per month is also taking off. So we're at the point where now in any given month, about 100 studies are being, or in some months at least, over 100 studies have been registered on the AEA site. And this is a huge change. Again, we didn't have study registration until a few years ago. Folks at JPAL and elsewhere have gone through and tried to figure out how many of these studies have pre-analysis plans. So again, pre-registering research hypotheses is a critical step in innovation. Over, I think, 680 or 690 of these 2,000 studies actually have pre-analysis plans, and the numbers are rising. I think it was only 300 last year, and now there's 300 something more in the past year. So big changes in research practice over time, and our first keynote, Betsy Levy-Pollack, who I'll introduce in a minute, is going to talk a lot more about these changes. Okay, the last step in terms of BITS activities is institutionalizing transparency. There's been a lot of movement in the last few years. BITS, we fund research, there's training courses, but we put a lot of emphasis in trying to institutionalize new practices and supporting organizations, whether they're funders, policymakers, research organizations, journals, that want to adopt new open science or research transparency practices, but don't know exactly how to do it. And so we've collaborated with a number of the institutions you see here, some large policy-making organizations, journals, and we're going to hear about a collaboration that BITS has had with the Journal of Development Economics. Andy Foster is here. He's the editor of the journal. He'll be speaking about that. And so again, if you're part of an organization that's interested in moving in this direction, BITS staff and BITS faculty are really excited to collaborate with you to think about ways to institutionalize changes. Okay, so let me just go through the day a little bit and give you a sense of what's to come. And you're going to hear a lot more about all these topics over the course of the day, but I wanted to give you some sense of what we've been doing over the last year. Our keynote speaker, I'll introduce in a minute, is Betsy Levy-Pollack from Princeton. After her talk, we're going to move into a couple of other really fascinating papers. There's a couple of sessions on a variety of topics. The second keynote, actually, let me just point out, Dean Carlin, last minute, literally last night, could not make it because of a family emergency, but his co-conspirator in the JDE, Andy Foster, is here, and he'll be speaking, providing the second keynote. We're really excited about that. There's several other interesting presentations, and I really am excited about the range of topics we'll be covering. over the course of the day, and then we're going to close the day with a panel on open policy analysis. So one of the sort of exciting directions BITS has taken over the last couple of years in institutionalizing research transparency is engaging with policymakers to make the policy analysis process more open, to bring the tools from open science into policy analysis. And our very own Fernando Oces de la Guardia will be leading that panel. And then finally, at the end, over the last 15 or 20 minutes, we're going to keep up the BITS tradition of having an open discussion session at the end. And Kevin hopefully will co-lead that with me, as we've done, I think, each of the 6 or 7 annual meetings, to talk about next steps, exciting ideas and trends in the space as well. Okay, so this is a sense of the day. And then we'll have a reception, so please stick around. Great. So this is, again, a sense of the day. Before I introduce Betsy, I just want to ask folks who are on the BITS board to just raise your hands or stand up. I see Don over here, Don again. Just look around the room. These are folks who are really deeply involved in BITS and providing leadership, and hopefully you guys will all have a chance to interact throughout the day. So thanks to the board, so many board members for coming today. We really appreciate it. Great. So let me just turn to introducing our first keynote speaker. We're right on schedule at 9:15. Our first speaker is Betsy Levy-Palick. She's a professor of psychology and public affairs at Princeton University, where she's been faculty for a number of years. She's also the deputy director of, let me get the name right of the center. What's that? Yes, the Kahneman-Treisman Center. We're really delighted to have her here. Betsy has made a name for herself since finishing her PhD at Yale in 2007 in doing really innovative, creative work in social psychology. She's focused on norm change on really important topics. She's really someone who's taken the tools of psychology and social science and tried to apply them to make the world a better place, focusing on issues of discrimination, prejudice, conflict, and how interventions, psychological interventions, social psychology interventions can reduce conflict or reduce prejudice. And so they're just incredibly important topics. She's someone whose work has really been published in leading journals. She's been recognized with many awards, including recently a MacArthur Fellowship. It's a tremendous pleasure to have her here with providing the first keynote talk. So maybe a round of applause for our first keynote speaker, Betsy Levy-Palick.